Welcome back, friends, to the podcast known as Behind the Badge here at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. My name is Todd Baxter. I'm the Sheriff of the fine County of Monroe in the city of Rochester. And the objective behind this podcast is just share who's behind the badge, who lives in the uniform and works for us, but other people that support us. And we have a classmate of mine from 1987. How are you, Deputy Resch?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I should have probably started out with my guest co-host, Sergeant Mike Zamiara.
Morning, Sheriff. Thanks for having me.
I like how you leaned into the mic. That was good. Very professional.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. You just found out 30 seconds ago you're a guest host?
Yeah, I did. It was a nice break from the action up here in the Sheriff's Administration. I'm happy to join you to sit with Deputy Resch this morning.
Notice how he just pivoted off the whole, I kidnapped him out there in the hall, dragged him in there and said, I need a co-host. Tiz fell out sick. I think that's what excuse he's using, but
Let him have it.
We'll talk about that later. He's a Steeler fan, so we get a lot of...
Okay.
Today's goal is to talk about the part-time deputy. We're unique in the Sheriff's Office, over 1,200 employees in total, but on the road patrol, we have the road patrol deputies, trained police officers covering calls for service, doing homicide investigations, doing all that. And then we have part-time deputies. What a great asset. What an amazing thing that every police department should have access to. And we want to share why it's so important today. So we brought one of our most senior members of the Sheriff's Office, because we went through the academy together back in 1987. But also you came back. You retired from the road patrol, came back as a part-time deputy and doing that work for us. So how about just first a little bit about yourself, Joe, and where you come from, what makes you tick, what do you like to do off duty, behind the badge?
Well, I grew up in Spencerport, graduated Spencerport High School in '78. A couple weeks later, went to Paris Island in the Marine Corps.
Hoorah.
And came back and went to MCC for 2 years. Actually worked at Dunkin' Donuts as a donut baker while I was going to, yes.
Where do they make the donuts?
Well, at that time, each individual shop had their own
They did.
baker.
Yeah. They don't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore. Yeah. And so got married at the age of 22. Had my first child at 23.
There you go.
And then went to different jobs. I worked for Palmer's for a while.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Kip Palmer.
We love Mr. Palmer.
He's a great guy. His father was equally great, Bud Palmer. I worked there, worked at RIT Campus Safety. And the nice thing about RIT Campus Safety before I came to the Sheriff's Office was Dick Sterling. I don't know if you remember Dick Sterling. No. He was a sergeant RPD in charge of the traffic unit, I believe. Okay. And he brought all the reports from RPD, all the crime reports, accident reports, FTO program, everything from RPD. Right. And, of course, the Sheriff's Office at the time was using the same format. And so I was very familiar when I got hired by the Sheriff's Office of not only the FTO program, but all the report writing and all the reports.
I thought in the academy was just smarter than everybody else. I didn't know you had to leg up. I didn't know that. Yeah. Why did I sit closer to you in the academy and look, peer over the shoulder? Error. Get to know your people.
Yes. So, at any rate, it took all the I always wanted to be a cop. Took all the tests, RPD, back then RPD and the towns were, I think, were combined. The sheriff was separate. And finally got hired by the Sheriff's Department.
And we win. We win on that one. I know you're just a great human being, a good father, and always giving back to the community. One of the jobs you did as a full-time road patrol deputy was that community engagement, that community service type thing, and we got some pictures of you rolling through. You're just natural with the community. It's not a thing. Community policing was never something we had to teach you, I think. It's something you just naturally did.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun, dealing with the good side of the public, you might say, for a while. Right. But also, one of the challenges I had, actually, when I first became, it was called CPO back then, crime prevention. Now it's community engagement. Was a lot of the programs that we did. I was not a public speaker. I never had any experience, I guess, in public speaking, and we had a number of programs, we still do, and which require you to go out into public and do some public speaking. So that was a challenge, but it became very fun after a while, and after experience, of course, it becomes pretty easy.
Easier. So I still get nervous. It's amazing.
No, one of the things I came to know Deputy Resch some years ago, dealing with some folks in the jail and some folks that had some challenges in various forms, but there's an individual we were dealing with in there who we were having an issue getting him. I think he had to turn a vehicle over to some family members, and we could not get him to do this. And somebody said, "Hey, call Joe Resch. He knows him from the road." And I put him on the phone with Joe Resch, and within about 10 seconds, the mission was accomplished.
The vehicle was accomplished, huh?
Just because of the relationships that Joe had with him, and find out a little bit more and drill down a little bit more, just asking Joe about it. Joe had been taking care of this guy out in the community who had some like I said, challenges before for years. And if Joe hadn't been there taking care of Anthony, who knows how it would have turned out. But, Joe was that constant figure in his life. So he was doing the CPO thing, but on the side, too, he was out there taking care of people in the community, and really nobody knew about it. And it was one of the things that stood out to me from that crime prevention side.
Thank you.
And that's behind the badge right there. I mean, people do not realize. They see it on TV or they see a sensational arrest or something in the news locally. These are servants. These are good human beings wearing this uniform. They're even people that we're dealing with putting handcuffs on and incarcerating them in Monroe County Jail. We're still working together to help that person or help that family out. They're going through hell. Do your crime, got to do your time. I have no problem with that. I say it all the time. But they're also human beings, and there's other people and stakeholders in their lives, and how do you work with them? Yeah, that's good. Well, it's a good trait of you as a person. I wish I would have known you had all that training prior to the academy. I would have stole that. We're here to talk about the part-time academy, and also recruit for part-time. But what does a part-time deputy do? So you left full-time, you retired, we recruited you back.
Well,
you sat out in your driveway one too many times with me driving by, I think. And so, what's a part-time deputy in the sheriff's office? What's the general function?
It's very similar, depending on your assignment, of course, but it's very similar to full-time with limited hours. I was assigned to the airport security unit when I first came back, and I was there for about 2.5 years, and it's very much like full-time. And of course, you're working alongside the full-time. But you're doing traffic enforcement, you're taking accident reports, you're doing penal law enforcement. We've made several arrests over there, and once in a while you have a problem on an airplane, and sometimes it leads to an arrest depending on what took place. We had a few of those. And then, of course, you also have the restriction over there of a lot of federal regulations that you have to watch out for, and there's certain things that you have to do at certain times to fulfill those federal regulations in addition to the regular patrol. And so it was very much like full-time, really. It's not much difference. And again, like limited hours, limited resources with regard to, you're not going to be, of course, assigned to a special unit as a part-timer. But it's pretty much the same thing. We have to maintain our standards just like a full-timer.
Yeah, same training, same amount of field training, academy training, state certification, same amount of in-service, continuous training, just working limited hours.
Right, pretty much, yeah.
And what that gives for management, I mean, no offense to my union brethren that are going to, but you're a lot cheaper. And for the taxpayer, you're a lot cheaper. So in particular, we're already paying your retirement. We don't need to pay into your retirement system and things like that. And we can get hours out of you, man hours, if you will, to fill functions. And sometimes there's functions that a road patrol, a full-time road patrol can't do or doesn't want to do. And you guys step in and fill that gap. Like park patrol. I mean, we don't need full-time people. Unfortunately, Rochester, New York, the weather's kind of crappy sometimes, right? And so we don't need a parks patrol as prolific as in December as we do in July. Right. So that's where you guys muster up and get that additional manpower for the parks patrol, as an example.
And you're visible, in the community. My current assignment is a community engagement part-time at C-Zone. And I'm able to do things that, when I was full-time, you weren't able to do. You just didn't have the time. Right. You're running usually from call to call, depending on what platoon you're working. And with the part-time position, you have that time to actually do traffic enforcement in an area that's having problems, or you have that time to go through neighborhoods that don't really see a sheriff's deputy that often. In some of the outlying areas, they never, unless there's a problem there, they usually don't see a sheriff's car. But now we can get into those areas and show our colors, so to speak.
Yeah, they're taxpayers, so they appreciate seeing you. Sorry, sir.
Yeah. No, so that's something that's kind of neat, and I think it's something we sort of created not too long ago. We were using a title, I think we were calling them cul-de-sac cops for a little while, but it's kind of a neat concept where, we're taking you essentially offline from taking jobs for service and things like that, and we're putting you into communities and asking you, hey, get to know these residents and get to know the community groups. So you don't have to worry about jumping back in the car and going and taking a domestic that's up the street.
Yeah, you can spend the time with people that have a problem and really get to the bottom of what their problem is. Yeah, so for sure.
Yeah, and of course, and when that bell rings for an absolute emergency, everybody's coming. But in the meantime, when you just have the day-to-day operations, you can spend that time with community members who want to see you there the most.
Right.
This is you doing one of your community presentations right here. And people just die for information. They're getting information about law enforcement from different sources. whether it's our social media or it's news programs or unfortunately a lot Hollywood, right? And they get a false pretense of what we do or what we can and cannot do. But,
Right.
you've done a ton of these. You talked about not being a public speaker initially, but you've obviously turned into one that you're comfortable, obviously, in this video.
Yeah, this was the Senior Citizen Police Academy.
Oh, for Chile?
For Chile.
Yeah, great group.
And there was the Special Teams Day.
Okay.
And they love it. And by the way, I was not the one that created that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did not create that. That program was long-standing before I became a full-time
Oh, really?
CPO.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, still, it's nice. It's a great program. So we just brought back, for folks that don't know, the Senior Police Academy. We've done civilian police academies, done academies for pastors. We've done a lot of the senior, and we just did a graduation the other day. That's why I'm kind of laughing, because this is a hard-charging, hardcore group right here.
It was. It
They're
was a
ready.
fun group.
They want to be deputized. They're wondering when they're getting their badges. They're ready to go to work.
Yeah.
I thought I heard you offer that to one or two
Yeah,
sheriffs.
I did. I offer them the shooting simulator. Come on up and do the shooting simulator.
Yeah, I think they're planning on having that done.
No, we're gonna have
Yeah.
a good time. We had some pastors, not too long ago up here to do the shooting simulator. It's a judgmental shooting, shoot, don't shoot, but also cognitive decision under stress and verbal commands and verbal skills, teamwork. It's a great simulator. 270 degrees, multiple stimuli coming at you. We brought a bunch of pastors up here to do it. I couldn't get them out of the building. I literally could. They were nervous. They didn't want to do it. I begged them to come up. I think it was 11 o'clock p.m. They're still here. Like, all right, guys, we got to go.
Yeah, in years past, when prison was running,
Yeah,
the academy,
yeah.
we were using that before we had this program. And the seniors would shoot on that program, and they're pretty good.
You guys shoot back at them. That one used to have those little paintball marbles. That
Yeah, it never.
nip you in the knee.
We didn't do it for them, of course.
Of course.
Most of the time, that part of that program was malfunctioning a lot of times, so
Yeah.
we didn't use it too much.
Yeah, and simulator now is just incredible. It's a game changer.
So just getting into a little bit more about some of the part-time patrol functions. I know we've got the position you're doing. I think we're calling the community engagement.
Community engagement.
Part-time you're doing. We've got folks out at the airport doing enforcement roles out there. The sheriff mentioned some parks deputies earlier, but what are some of the other functions? I know we've got some guys out on boats.
Yep, the Marine unit mounted, the horses. At one time, I believe both of those units had full-time contingent. Now that's all part-time, except for supervision is full-time. I can't speak too much to those two groups because I haven't been part of either one of them. But they were, the mounted unit is primarily patrols the parks and parking lots of shopping plazas and so forth, and so they're very visible with that. And the Marine unit enforces the laws on the lake and the waterways in Monroe County.
Yeah, so I think the picture, at least I'm trying to paint of what part-time patrol deputies do here is it almost seems like there's a little bit of something for everybody based on what your experience in life is. So if I'm the 35-year-old guy who's got a little bit of spare time, or I'm a 40-year-old guy, I'm a 22-year-old guy, it doesn't matter, or gal, by the way, and I'm looking for an opportunity to serve my community. I've still got my 9-to-5 job. I can, with a little bit of effort, go through a police academy during the nights and on the weekends, and feasibly be taking jobs for service in Mendon Ponds Park next year at this time. Or if I've got some background and I'm a horseman, it's feasible to indicate that, and maybe I'm riding a horse patrolling Pittsford Plaza at some point next year.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and one of the best things about the part-time police officer position, if you will, the deputy sheriff, is they don't go through a civil service process. We're able to hire them off our own testing. Or take laterals like yourself. We'd consider you a lateral because you're already a certified police officer. But this is a great opportunity for people that want to get into law enforcement, just can't get through that door of civil service. And we know civil service is a broken system. It doesn't equate to good police officers by any means. If you score 100 on a test or an 85 on a test, but it's a key to a door that a lot of people can't get through. And it's no indicator how good of a cop you're going to be. So this gives us an opportunity to give a field test to a few people. Take our test, get state certified as a New York State police officer, deputy sheriff, do the part-time, and man, does that really make you more recruitable to every other police agency.
Right.
If you do pop on one of those tests high enough, you're going to get stuff. And we know that when we do a part-time academy, we just started a part-time academy, first one in decades, because we know there's young people out there. We also know there's professionals out there that just want to, as Sarge was saying, like a volunteer firefighter, right? Just give back that extra time. They got a few, maybe they're empty nesters, right? Or they just want to. what a great opportunity to become a police officer and not have to go through that whole civil service plus the full-time
Full-time
academy.
academy.
But it's a great stepping stone.
And I believe there's no age restriction either now, right?
And look at our command staff, right? You look at the command staff of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. So many of these people were part-time deputies at one time. That's how they got their foot in the door, and now they're at command level of a 1,200-person organization because that's the opportunity. So this is a recruitment pitch. I'm giving it to you right now. If you're a young person, never been thinking about law enforcement, this is a stepping stone job. Look for that next part-time academy. The application's coming up really quick to sign up for that test, and it's not the New York State Civil Service test, which again is absolutely broken. And also, if you're a professional and just looking for something different to do, and the answer why I pivoted off that, it's my word of the day, by the way, because I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. Is there an age restriction? I know for road full-time, you got to be 35. You can get 3 years of active
35.
duty up to 38.
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe there's no age restriction.
So these technical guys behind us are going to put that on the B-roll right here at this point. You'll see it right there. I'm pointing to it. And it'll have the age restriction for the part-time deputy. Good question. Stump me, Dan. So a Spenceport guy, Ranger,
Spenceport.
huh? Spenceport
Yes,
Ranger is
yes,
good.
yeah.
And what did you do in the Marine Corps?
I was in basic intel man. So I was assigned, it was in reserves. And so I was assigned to the 8th Tank Battalion over here in Chile,
Oh, yeah.
HNS
Paul Road?
Company, Paul Road.
Yep.
And they didn't have really a fit for my MOS. So I ended up I was supposed to be a map reader because back then there's no GPS,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I was supposed to be a map reader. And so they had me doing background investigations for security clearances. So I would come here to the sheriff's office with the paperwork for background investigations and so forth. And so I was involved with that for most of the time I was in the reserve.
How long did you spend in?
6 years.
Oh, thanks for your
Yeah.
service.
And thanks. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And back then, of course, the Marine Corps was hot and heavy for training and for desert warfare.
Right.
They knew what was coming.
Yep. What
And,
years were you?
78 to 80, well, whatever, 60, 6 years. But
Spenceport.
Spenceport, yeah, right.
My son went to Spenceport. I can't say that.
I also went to Spenceport, although I think I graduated about 23 years after you, sir.
Wow.
But,
Okay, yeah. It was somebody with your last name in my class.
Oh, yeah, we got those.
Probably his
Gene,
grandfather.
was it maybe Gene?
Could have been, yeah. Yeah.
So,
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You had to throw that jab out there. Though.
You caught that.
You see those service stripes? Seniority and lack of hair, right?
yeah.
Yeah, 1987. So many great people. Perfect timing. This is our recruit class. We spent an hour trying to find Todd in there earlier, Sheriff Baxter.
Right.
Where are you?
I'm right below you.
There you go. Nice mustache. Tony Perez, good friend of ours, just amazing. Officer Lockhart, Lloyd Kyler, several chiefs in here. Turned out to be chiefs of the Rochester Police Department. It's an
Yeah.
amazing picture. 1987.
Yeah.
Look at the revolvers. We used to carry revolvers back then.
Yes, sir.
38 caliber. Brighton came in with their 357s. Remember those things?
Yeah, we had 350s.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Sheriffs did.
Sheriffs
They were like flamethrowers. Yeah, literally. You'd be on the range next to them and you let them shoot.
They were good guns. I missed the revolvers, actually. They're good guns.
Good guns. So I don't know if you guys in the sheriff's office, I was with the Rochester Police Department back then, we were able to buy ours. I don't know if you were able to buy yours.
We were, yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's home, and my wife that's her favorite gun to shoot, that 38 revolver. It's
Yeah.
got such a smooth trigger pull, long action on the trigger pull, wood grips on it. I want to put some ivory grips on it, but that's awesome. Yeah, a lot
Branded option.
a lot of characters in that picture. It was a big
it
class.
was a big class.
And Jerry Lanther, the
Jerry
head class
Lanther.
counselor, yeah, he's going through some medical stuff right now, and he's a pit bull though. Yeah, Jerry he'll fight right through everything.
It was a good class for sure.
Yeah, good class counselors. One turned out to be a chief of police, Rochester
Right,
Police Department.
right.
One of our class counselors. That's pretty cool. Small world. So what's next for the part-time Deputy Resch? This community engagement
Well-
officer cul-de-sac cop is you. I coined it, right? But we're really, that's the whole idea. Get the people like the Joe Resch's back in the communities that won't see us unless there's a 911 call, and let them feel important. Let them feel that you're out there, you care about them. Let them see the colors, as you said. They pay taxes to have that patrol car going out.
Yep.
And most police officers full time are just, sometimes call, and they can't give that TLC, that tender love and care to a community.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to continue the community engagement
Thank you.
out there in C-Zone and see how it goes.
That's awesome. What else you got, Sarge? Anything?
Wrap it up with a bow.
Wrap it
Why
up with a bow. Here we go.
should this guy
He's got a line for everything.
who's got a new family and he's got a great career, why should he come and consider being a part-time deputy, or she, for the Monroe County Sheriff's Office?
Well, it's a great opportunity to help your community, to help people. Yeah, you get the added certification. I'm sorry. Yeah, which is nice, and it's a good pay for part-time. It's really good pay for a part-time job, and it's hard to find that high-paying part-time.
Yeah, and
position.
it didn't used to be, and that's since changed. It is a good paying job, and more than that, it's service to community and the opportunity to maybe not be hopping job to job, but if chatting up citizens and helping people is up your alley, it's a job for you.
You do have it's a lot of work for helping people, for sure. There's a lot of opportunity to be able to help people, and if that's what you enjoy doing, then for sure, it's a good job.
Whether it's, our job function, help the vulnerable, right? Protect the vulnerable. It's really our job function.
Yeah.
Just another tool in the toolbox. We're blessed with so many tools in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. A very diverse group. When I see jail working with deputy on the road to help that guy and that family out, that's what it's all about.
Public servant, you're a public servant.
Exactly. Exactly. And I hope people, behind the badge, one of my other objectives of this podcast, is the characters in these suits are just stunning human beings, right? And I'm going to point at you right now because you're our guest, but every time we do one of these interviews, I learn something new that I didn't know about one of our co-employees, right? That one of the people that work with us that just is giving back to the community, that volunteered somewhere, served in the Marine Corps, did something. They're at the volunteer ambulance, whatever. They're coaching their kids' soccer team. It doesn't matter. These are just servants by heart. And that's what the public needs to clearly understand is the character of the police officer and sheriff deputy in Monroe County is utterly incredible. Perfect? Hell no. Well, no. Not in a million years. I don't even come close to profess I'm perfect, right? But professional, well-trained, well-disciplined, with a servant heart. That's all we can ask for.
And, you have a lot of part-timers from the various agencies, and a lot of them were command officers in their respective agencies,
Great point.
Got a lot of RPD, and we got Grease and troopers, and a former, obviously. I think Brockport now, Gates. So we got a lot of people from various agencies that are working part-time now for the Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, the characters, incredible. So from all these different police departments, 9 different police departments, come back to work for the Sheriff's Office because we have this part-time position available. Because they don't want to give up. They don't want to hang up the spurs 100%, right? They're done with their full-time job. They want to spend some more time with the grandkids or whatever, but they love that uniform. They love that service. They come back. Sometimes a year later, I'm surprised the names that show up on my desk saying, I just want to come back and serve. I want to put that uniform on. It's addictive to go out there and help other people and be part of a team that you can't get anywhere else in our community.
Right.
It's addictive, and they come back. And I don't know if we're going to mention any names about some of these characters that have come back, but
Chief Long.
Say it again.
Chief Long.
Duffy. I was thinking of Duffy. But,
Lance Duffy,
I was thinking of a character by the name of Duffy that most of the community probably knows from Gates.
Sure.
But that's good when we can bring those guys into our organization. That experience.
A lot of experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were associated with special teams when they were full-time also. So, a lot of good experience.
Yeah. The Marine unit, incredible. I know we probably haven't done an update with the Marine unit in a long time, but man, if you're out on a boat and on the Genesee River, Irondequoit Bay, out in that lake, and you're adrift, your motor's gone out. These guys, to have those boats with that skill level to go out there and grab you, let alone do enforcement so everybody's safe. We get, unfortunately, some accidents once in a while with intoxicated drivers on boats, so they're out there trying to prevent that. Doing safety inspections, just an incredible asset. That's part-time deputies.
Right.
Things like that. Well, we finished up the podcast with a thing called No Miranda Zone. No Miranda Zone means you have to answer my questions because Miranda says you don't have to. You have a right to remain silent. Well, here you don't because you still work for me. So we'll just throw a little bantering out there. And, my first question is going to be for you. What's your favorite TV program?
Well, you're going to be surprised by this.
Uh-oh.
But I don't have a TV in my house.
I love him. I absolutely love him.
And I grew up in a family that my father was a strict disciplinarian, and if he came home and you were watching TV, you were in trouble. But
my father used to feel the TV when I got home. That was his trick. He could feel it, and if it was hot back in the day, we'd be in trouble.
But a few programs back in the day when I was a kid that drew my attention was Emergency and Adam 12.
Imagine that. Right up your wheel. And he wanted to be a cop. Imagine that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll throw one at you because I know you have one of these. You don't have a TV. Favorite type of dog?
Doberman.
Thank you. Okay, good. There's not many around
my
today.
second dog.
Yeah, they're beautiful dogs. I had one growing up and just don't see a lot of Dobes running around.
No, not anymore.
The deputy has a Doberman.
Yeah.
You got any Miranda questions for him? You make a terrible investigator here.
Never was a good one, sir. No, just thank you for
Thank you.
not only doing the podcast, but for what you do out in the community. There's no way we could articulate it in a 20-minute podcast episode, but
Yeah.
people have no idea how engaged and how compassionate you are with the community you serve. So just thank you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and we have recruitment coming up for part-time deputies. It's a test that we administer here at the sheriff's office, and then you go through a part-time academy and field training, and you leave at the other end of that long process because it's much slower because we spread it out over several days as opposed to 5 days a week. But you end up being a certified police officer. So if you're a former police officer want to come back, you don't have to go through the academy if your certification is most recent. But if you're a young person or a person that's a professional and been looking to do something different and get that opportunity, this is it right here part-time. We're hiring. So I'll throw that out there, and that information will be up on our screen too of who to call and how to get a hold of us for recruitment. But great example of who we are as a sheriff's office. Really appreciate you coming back.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Until next week,
Thank you.
folks. Be safe.